And for us, in the end, our end goal is just to have this sustainable lifestyle business. And right now we're doing what we love. We can combine our passion with our startup. And if we can make money with it, yeah, that's the ultimate dream for us.
Mm-hmm. Hello and welcome back to Indie Bites, the podcast where I bring you stories of fellow indie hackers in 15 minutes or less. Today I'm joined by Marie Martens, the co-founder of Tally, an easy way to create forms online. She left her stable marketing job to start Tally with her partner in crime, Philip, and became an indie hacker. Since then, they've grown Tally to over 16,000 users and almost 10k MRR through a mix of manual prospecting, a successful product hunt launch, and product-led growth. They've turned Tally into an exceptional indie success story. There's no extended version of this conversation, but if you'd like listening to indie podcasts, I've just launched a brand new show with my friend Dan Rowden called No More Mondays, where we'll be talking about our journey building our bootstrap businesses and celebrating never having to have a Monday again. Link is in the show notes or just search No More Mondays in your podcast player. And of course, thank you to Ahrefs for supporting this indie creator. Ahrefs is the most complete and valuable SEO tool on the market. Bootstrap companies such as Veed, also did you hear Veed just raised 35 million from Sequoia, and Transistor have used Ahrefs extensively to understand how to craft their SEO strategies, which have been such a pivotal part of their growth, and also leading to Veed's massive round. If you want to get more traffic from Google on your side project, I'd recommend first trying out Ahrefs Webmaster Tools for free. You'll see what keywords your pages are ranking for, understand how Google sees your content, and discover what changes you need to improve your search ranking. To try out Ahrefs, head to ahrefs.com/AWT, that's ahrefs.com, or hit the link in the show notes. Let's get into this episode. Marie, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Hi, James. Thank you so much for having me. I'm good. How are you?
Very good. Now, you were on the Indie Hackers podcast recently. One thing you didn't touch on that much, which I was surprised by, was your actual growth of Tally and the origin story. Do you want to just give me a little bit of that background story from leaving a stable job to going full-time indie hacking with your first startup and then how that led you to Tally?
Our startup journey didn't start with Tally. Me and Philip, who is my partner and co-founder, we decided to build Hotspot, which was our first startup idea. It's something completely different. It's a marketplace for hotels and travel influencers. And we got the idea a couple of years ago when we were traveling in Mexico. And we actually decided to build it somewhere in 2019. Philip built an MVP and kind of tried to automate like outreach to hotels. Long story short, we felt quite some traction from the beginning, so we thought there might be something in this. We had some paying customers. By the beginning of 2020, I decided to leave my job. I was a marketing manager at the time, and we always had the dream to travel and do our own thing and have the freedom of owning your own business and being your own boss. Beginning 2020 seemed like the right time for us to do that, not knowing, of course, that a pandemic was gonna hit a couple of months later. So yeah, we actually rented out our apartment. We booked flights to Bali because we were gonna live and work there and live like the digital nomad life. That's something we've always wanted to do. And we actually never made it to Bali, so we had to stop in between. We were flying to Bangkok first, and then COVID hit, and we actually had to fly back home. And we were lucky to still catch a flight back to Belgium because all the borders were closing. So we were basically stuck, and I had just quit my job, and we both had this dream to grow Hotspot into something. But at the time we were very naive. We thought, how long can this thing last? So we just worked for a couple of months. We developed some more features. I started writing some content, just like thinking by summer this thing will be over. But of course that didn't happen. We lost half of our clients. We just could not reach anyone because of course people were not traveling, hotels were closing. And a couple of months later we were just thinking, okay, what are we gonna do? And that's how we started brainstorming about other ideas. We had used a lot of form builders in the past, me and my previous jobs, Philip as well. We've used Typeform, but it became quite expensive for starting businesses. We were also using Notion at the time, and we really liked like the blog building approach. So all of that together made us think, wouldn't there be a place for another form builder, although it is already a very competitive space. And so we came up with the idea of building Tally and just make it a very flexible form building tool and make it free freemium and very accessible for makers and indie hackers. And that's kind of where it started. Now, Philip built the MVP in a couple of months. And yeah, I think we launched our MVP then in September 2020.
What were you doing to get the product out there, to get the first few users?
Yeah, we started really simple. Like, we just made lists of friends and family, like people that we know, also some people that we know that work in the more in tech industry or in product companies that we thought could relate to the product. And then we just moved on to making like prospect lists. So I was scanning Product Hunt, and there's like lists of top 500 makers, trying to reach out to people on Twitter via cold DMs and asking if they would be willing to try out our product. Of course, it's a very time-intensive job, but it did give us like our first users. So that's basically what we did, really like one-to-one outreach until we launched in March.
Yeah, that's a lot of grunt work to start off with. You put in a lot of effort to start to get these prospect lists, to reach out to people, to tell them there's a new form builder which is free to start with. I remember when I first discovered Tally through Indie Hackers, I was looking for a form builder because I thought all the incumbents were so convoluted. Typeform have recently just completely overhauled their whole builder and it was so limited. You run into a paywall so quickly. So when I discovered Tally, I thought this is brilliant, and it was, you can build a form like you could Notion. My Indie Byte sponsorship page is now just a Tally form, and I remember emailing you soon after you'd launched, wanting to get a payment form on Tally form.
Yeah, we just launched and you were our first paying customer, which for us was great because you could not pay for Tally yet. And I remember like, oh, there's this, person that is interested and that might even pay. So we must be making something good.
Do you know your biggest source of new users or new signups?
Until now, it would still be our Product Hunt launch and just leads that are still coming from Product Hunt. And then like the product-led growth, the more people that submit a Tally form and the more free users, the more people that also see like the powered by or this form is made with Tally, and that's really giving us a lot of new users right now. And I would say a third is just like a combination of social media, different kind of communities where we're active in, and the content we're trying to share there.
We must touch upon that Product Hunt launch because it has been so pivotal in Tally's journey, and you got, I think, ended up being number 2 product of the day somehow.
We were number 1 for 23 hours.
Yeah.
And it was my first Product Hunt launch, and we prepared it really well. Like, we made sure that we were ready for the day. My mother came over to babysit for our daughter, so we wouldn't have to worry about that.
So what steps did you take to make sure that Product Hunt launch went well?
We did the basics, like you prepare your pitch, made sure we had some visuals. We also contacted some communities that we were part of and saying, okay, we're going to launch on Product Hunt. We would love your support. We also prepared an emailing to send to our own users to say that we were live. And then during the day, we made sure that we replied to every comment that came in, that we kept sharing our progress and our position during the day. And I guess I just really think that our first users really helped us, and just the fact that we only launched in March while we were already working on the product for a couple of months, that definitely gave us a push in the right direction.
I love the feeling of launches, of Product Hunt launches, the day where it's just so much energy and excitement, and you're stuck to your desk and typing, responding to comments, updating your stats, checking the position you're in, how many views you're getting, but you can see you've had the long tail effects in it. So after Product Hunt, you doubled your users pretty quickly to 3,000, but then from March, you've gone from 3,000 to 11,000 users. What have you been doing? Has that been all organic? Have you been writing a bunch of blog posts? Have you been doing paid advertising?
A lot of different things combined. We haven't done any paid advertising, so we haven't tried that. Not because I don't want to, I just didn't try it yet. So we kept on, building in public to start with, sharing our milestones. We started having some forums that have had a really big reach across the world. So people that use Tally, and they had a lot of respondents. So a lot of people saw our Powered By badge. We didn't have a lot of content in the start. So we did start writing a lot more tutorials, how-to guides, and to help people get started with Tally. Some landing pages that just started to rank higher. A lot of Notion users, so we have one page that says how can you make forms for Notion. Also some competitor pages where we compare Tally to Typeform, for example. So those we made specifically with the idea to grow our organic search. So a lot of different small things, I guess, have brought us where we are now.
Now, Marie, I'm interested in why you decided to go indie and go bootstrap, because you've always had these stable, consistent marketing jobs. A lot of people would be in that position. Now, I know Philip, he's been an entrepreneur and he had an exit, but why for you did you decide it was the right time to quit your job and go and join Philip on building Hotspot?
Again, I guess a combination of things. Like I've always been intrigued by people having their own startup, and then I've always wanted to be my own boss, but I guess I never really had the balls to do so. And also, I've had really fun jobs and really cool colleagues, and I was always inspired by the people I worked with. But I guess it was a combination of, we both wanted to travel for a longer period of time. At the time, that was difficult to combine with being an employee, definitely because I had a team and I could not work remotely. So that was one part. And then just the Hotspot idea got us really excited because we could feel like it had potential and maybe we could do this thing together. And I guess the biggest trigger is, so I have a background in marketing, but I'm the non-technical co-founder, right? Mm-hmm. So I also probably always felt, I don't know how to build a product like this by myself. And yet Philip happens to be a person that designs and builds products and loves doing that. And it just seemed like a no-brainer for us together to try it out and to see how it would work. And we actually did like a small workation when I was still working at my previous office. So we took a couple of weeks off and we went to Spain and we thought, okay, let's try. How does this work? Like we wake up, we work, and then in the afternoon, maybe we can do something fun. And it worked out really well for us. So that was like our little test to see how things would go. Of course, you never know how it will actually be to also work with your partner.
Yeah, I like that. I like your thought process behind it, of thinking, first of all, let's give it a go for a week, see what it's like working together and doing work on our own terms. Has it been how you expected? Have you enjoyed it? Do you enjoy it more than working for other people?
Yeah, definitely. It would be difficult to go work for someone else unless it would be like a really cool other startup or an idea that I really believe in. I got used to the freedom, to the flexibility, to do whatever I want, whenever I want it. Yeah, to decide everything ourselves, but also to the thrill and the adrenaline you get when something seems to be working out. Like Tally is still really small, but just the idea that more than 200 people are paying for our service, and I think by now it's 12,000 users, people that are using it for free. It's such a cool thought that we already made it this far, and it just makes you so curious to see what the future will bring. And for us, in the end, our end goal is just to have this sustainable lifestyle business. And right now we're doing what we love. We're on a day-to-day. We can combine our passion with our startup. And if we can make money with it, yeah, that's the ultimate dream for us.
Now, I end every episode on 3 recommendations. A book that you enjoy, a podcast that you listen to, and an indie hacker or entrepreneur that you've been inspired by or people should follow.
I think business related would be Intercom on marketing, which I loved, but it's a big part about it is about content marketing and just how they use their own journey to reach more people. And podcast recently has been mostly the Indie Hackers podcast at the Indie Bites, of course. I've been following I don't know if you know Davis Bear.
Yeah.
I've been following him lately because he just shares like really hands-on bootstrapping SaaS advice, so love that.
Marie, thank you so much for joining the podcast. Really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much, James, for having me.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Indie Bites. All links for everything discussed will be in the show notes as always. A quick reminder to check out that new podcast I've launched called No More Mondays with Dan Rowden. And if you want to grow your project using SEO, take a look at today's sponsor, Ahrefs. Thank you for listening. See you next week.